The Moment, brought to you by PointsBet.
The ripple effect was felt right across the competition in that moment, from Optus Stadium and to the eastern seaboard. A brilliant start to 2024. He was the raging favourite for the Rising Star. Most had conceded that it was going to be his, and that has flipped dramatically since. You knew that that was going to come back as a suspension, and so it did. As it stands, it's a 2-week suspension. It is heading for the tribunal, but not to challenge guilty or not guilty, so the Rising Star cannot be won. 2 Rising Stars are with us. 1994's winner, Chris Scott. Chris, welcome.
Thank you, Jared.
And 2003's Rising Star, Sam Mitchell. Sam, hello.
How are you?
Gee, you're young. 2003.
What's 94?
Old.
Should Fairest be part of the Rising Star Award?
Oh, it's an interesting question. I think I like the tradition of the Fairest, but what's Fairest back then and what's Fairest now are quite different things. I think there's a difference between intentional and careless. So, I think if it's an intentional act, then perhaps it shouldn't be allowed to be one. But if it's more careless, such as that, then I think that might be something the AFL look at. Should
it align with the Brownlow? I'm so curious. So this is 1993. This is not the 20s or the 30s and the Brownlow holds, it enshrines fairest and best. I've never really heard the Rising Star referred to that way.
No, well, I don't think all the other awards are. It seems to just be the bit. I do remember it because I had an iffy incident in my year that I got off, so I was fortunate that I would have been in the same position otherwise.
Do you have an overall view, Chris?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think it's a relic of the past. Doesn't make any sense to be part of the criteria now. And I think even back in the day, if you think about, have you YouTubed the sensational 70s? Mm-hmm. But do you remember the way the game was played back then? Like, say, in the 30s or the 20s, then the fairest element was real. Like, no one's looking at that incident or Sam Darcy's and thinking they shouldn't be eligible for individual awards because they're not fair players. I mean, that's just a nonsense.
No, I disagree. I disagree strongly.
Well, you're allowed to be wrong. It's fine.
No, I disagree. I thought what Sam Darcy did was not a really good act whatsoever, and he got the 2 weeks, not just one. And with that one, what stood out for me with that tackle is it had almost been eliminated from the game somewhat, that really aggressive throw down. So when I saw it, it was quite stark for me to see that happen. And with concussion as prevalent as it is, I'm sure you've got people in your teams and who have been suffering from it. I think we've got to be very much aware of the impact of concussion as we've got to stamp it out really strongly, and that was going to contribute to that possibly.
But I don't think that's a matter of being unaware. That's I think if we take your contention through to its fullest extent, you're saying if players have played 300 games and they get suspended once, they're not fair players. That's a nonsense.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in this season that we're playing, if you get suspended for that, I don't think you should win the Rising Star.
Or the Brownlow.
Yeah, no, nor the Brownlow.
Okay, because I suspect you think that the tradition in the Brownlow is so sacrosanct that if you've been suspended, you shouldn't win the Brownlow. I think, coming out of a game's penalty enough. It's like the best and fairest. Like most teams, if you miss 4 or 5 games from injury, you can't win the best and fairest. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me either, but maybe I'm the outlier.
Did you win it? I think I know this, but did you win it when Corey McKernan was banned?
I did, yeah. Yeah, if I was the second best player that year, I was only the second. He was clearly the best. And I think he might have missed for tripping or something.
He did, which was not a suspension the following year.
I mean, honestly, to be ruled out because of that, I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah, no, I think tripping's less of an act than those two on the weekend.
But my point is, everyone will make... If you play for long enough, because I don't think anyone's watching that and think, like Harley, it was poor execution, but no one's thinking... Now, all of a sudden, he's labelled as an unfair player and he should be deprived of winning awards for the rest of the year. Now, everyone thinks he should be suspended in the current era, but my point is, when these things were implemented, especially with the Brownlow, say in the 20s, you could punch a player behind the play and not get suspended. Now, because the benchmark for being suspended is so much tighter, and the awards kind of haven't moved with it. And as you say, this award was only instigated in '93. It seems a bit antiquated to me.
So it makes for an incredible race for it now, but does it hurt? It's one of the great feel-good moments of the season, I think, the naming of the Rising Star. On that day, is it going to hurt that the two players who we thought of fighting it out are not going to be eligible for whoever is presented?
Yeah, it's interesting. I hope, I don't know what the votes, I hope they're ineligible to receive votes.
That's correct, yes.
That is true? Okay, well, I think it'll still have a special moment. I think whoever wins that award, it's not like you're going to be read behind Darcy and Reid, so you're still going to get the 5 votes from each of the contestants, which will be a special moment for whoever does win.
And one of those players who's now emerging is Ollie Dempsey, which is the young fellow that you've got. He played really well on the weekend. He's had a really super year, actually. He's playing as the, third tall in the forward line. How would you think he would feel winning the Rising Star if he was able to get up and do it?
I'm not sure. But I mean, I tend to think that to the winners go the spoils. And when you really dig down into the detail and think back and did you realise that these two players were ineligible? I think most people kind of forget about it. But I shouldn't speak for Ollie, but knowing him the way I do, I suspect that he wouldn't think for a second that if he won it, that he's automatically had a better year than Darcy or Harley Reid, which would be a reasonable position to take.
Right, the MRO have made the NAB Rising Star. They've thrown it wide open. So Harley Reid out, obviously, for 2 weeks. Sam Darcy, second favourite, out 2 weeks. I will just say this. Do not feel sorry for Harley Reid or for Sam Darcy in any way, shape or form. They know the rules going in. They know the rules of the games that stands right now. And whilst Harley might not like that one, Sam Darcy's got no argument. And I don't think Harley's got an argument here, by the way. The rules are the rules.
Look at the reaction of the West Coast guys on the fence there. They knew it straight away. It was a shocking tackle. It was a tackle that's been taken out of the game in some shape or form. And Sam Darcy was late to this, and he wanted to compete. He wanted to contest. He wanted to be the big presence. And he's still learning exactly how to do that within the laws of the game.
So he got it wrong, and he pays his penalty, and he's not. They're both not eligible.
So, and you don't want to cut any slack. You don't think that the goalposts have shifted around what's fairest and best, given they've changed the rules now. I mean, it was always there because we don't want a thug that's going around belting people, doing anything like that. But players can be a victim of circumstance, wherein they don't handle that moment exactly as well as they would like. Yeah, it's a split-second decision. And just because you make the wrong decision with no malice intended, all of a sudden you're ineligible for a Brownlow medal or a Rising Star. I just think we need to perhaps grade them differently.
No, different argument. So I accept that. And I'm happy to go at the end of the year and throw it on the table and go, what do we think about this? But as it sits right now, don't feel sorry for those two blokes because they made bad mistakes that deserve penalty.
Get that.
Now,
but there's a bigger philosophical debate.
So, do you need the fairest? And I've heard this today. Do you need the fairest in the Rising Star? I'm happy not to have it, but don't react just on this. No. React back when Corey McKernan first got rubbed out. And if you've been passionate about it, bang the table every year, at the start of every year. By the way, the fairest shouldn't be in the NAB Rising Star until such time as you get it where you...
But we don't deal with these issues until it rears its head like this.
So we can't expect it.
So why not use this opportunity to have the discussion and make a change
I'm with you at the end of the year, 100%. I'm with you.
One thing that supports your position is that there was only 3 players that were actually suspended for weeks this weekend. And 2 of them happen to be the favourite and the second favourite for the Rising Star. So it's not as if players are getting rubbed out left, right and centre at the moment. There's only 3.
And I get why we've changed all the rules because the player welfare is the number one thing. And rightfully so.
There's a consequence.
But just for not quite handling a split-second decision.
I'm with you. I'm happy to have that. I'm happy to have that discussion.